are online at all right now, you're probably seeing the name Lindsay Clancy and information about her ongoing trial. Now, I wasn't going to cover this case as I am currently 4 months postpartum and it is very triggering. So I want to give a trigger warning. We will be talking about postpartum depression, anxiety, psychosis. We will be talking about suicidal ideation and the death of children. But I think it's important to share about this because I think it is bigger than just this case. There is such a huge lack of postpartum care, especially in America, and this needs to be talked about more. So I am officially going to be covering the case, and in this video, I'm going to go over a timeline of what happened in the case, and then in my next videos, I'll go over more of the details. Patrick and Lindsay Clancy met in 2013, married in 2016, and were living in Duxbury, Massachusetts, where Lindsay worked as an L&D nurse and Patrick worked in telecommunications. They had their first child, Cora, in December 2017, and then in 2019, their second child, Dawson, was born, and in May 2022, their third child, Callan, was born. Lindsay seemed to be doing okay to the outside world after giving birth to Callan, but by the end of late summer and early fall of 2022, her mental health was starting to deteriorate. Now, like I said, I'm going to go through more of the details of what she was experiencing, the medication she was prescribed, and the help she sought out in another video, but for now, just know that over several months at the end of 2022, she was experiencing severe anxiety, depression, obsessive thoughts, and insomnia. She spoke with several psychiatrists and therapists and was prescribed a variety of medications to try to help her insomnia and mental health. But unfortunately, nothing was really working, and despite her voicing that she needed help and her telling her husband she feared she would harm her children, she was severely undertreated. On January 1st, 2023, Lindsay voluntarily admitted herself to McLean Hospital for psychiatric treatment. She was discharged after several days, and the prosecution has said she was cured, but the defense has said she was not. January 2023 continued, and Lindsay was preparing to return back to work, but before she could, tragedy would strike. On January 24th, 2023, the family woke up like normal, and then in the late morning, Lindsay had a telehealth visit with a psychiatrist. What exactly happened at that appointment has not been fully reported, but it has been pointed out by prosecutors who argue that she did not report psychotic symptoms during this.
Murder 3 of her children? Yes. Do I think she should go to prison for it? No, probably not. I'm a friend.
Y'all got me talking about this shit now. So this case has been brought up in my own home, and I have tried my best to not know anything about it until I started seeing some of the comments. And it was disgusting to see women trying to argue that she shouldn't go to prison, that she shouldn't be punished for this.
Prosecution in her case wants her to go to prison for murdering her children. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I don't.
And yes, before we get too far down the rabbit hole, I understand that they're arguing insanity, that she lost her mind, that she had postpartum depression. We don't care. You killed 3 children. You should go to prison at least.
Admittedly, Lindsay Clancy murdered her 3 children. She strangled them all with exercise bands. Lindsay was alone with her children for a little while because her husband Patrick had gone out to CVS and to pick up some takeout food. And when he...
FYI, she's okay. The kids are. So
with the kids for 2 days. Is that right?
Right.
Fair to say that you also had your friends that you would do brunch with on occasion, Sundays or weeknights or whenever, guys night type thing?
Yep.
And you'd be out with your...
He choked her 3 children to death in 2023, yet many women on TikTok are claiming they can understand why a woman would be pushed to do this. I see comments with 148,000 likes saying that she isn't to blame, it's actually the husband. Because yeah, she killed the kids, but the husband left the house after she planned out the route which he took and told him to go run errands. Every comment that I see seems to justify a woman intimately murdering her children, because that is what happened here. I hate to say this, but because she is white, she may be getting more sympathy than she deserves. She had not been diagnosed with postpartum psychosis before this, and the tragedy occurred 8 months after giving birth. Typically, postpartum depression sets in within the first month, the first 4 weeks. By 8 months, a child can crawl, and a child has a more established sleep and wake window, so it's not like her sleep would have been that horrible at 8 months. All of these narratives just put the blame on the doctors and the husband. And I say doctors because she went through 8 different doctors. A lot of girlies are blaming the husband for entering a new relationship, saying that he must have been cheating. If a woman steals everything from you, killing your 3 young kids that you are already seeing grow up and go through major changes in early stages of their life. And in doing so, she is taking herself out of your life permanently because she's going to spend the rest of her life in prison. what is he supposed to do? I think you have immediate closure when the mother of your children just killed your kids. You're not going to miss that woman at all. And yet these girlies online try to say that he's actually to blame for all of this because he weaponized the mom. Like she's some type of non-sentient natural force. Other girlies are saying she belongs in a hospital rather than a jail. But she's not in psychosis anymore. Nor do I even entirely believe that she was in psychosis when she did this. It's strange to me that she didn't take her own life because she's not considering the consequences of her actions. She's in psychosis. Of course, she was so much in psychosis that she planned out the exact route that she needed to send her husband on to know exactly how.
Am I living in some sort of dystopia where it is now a husband's fault if the mother kills his 3 children, even though all of the medical professionals that was caring for this woman kept sending her home, refused to hospitalize her, despite the fact that apparently what she was going through should have meant immediate hospitalization? You're telling me that this husband should have just overrode all of the medical professionals, said, you know what, I know better, and saved his children? She sent him out of the house that day to murder the children. Are we seriously insinuating that he is now somehow the evil voice in her head that told her to kill the children? That's not how psychosis works. As somebody that is consumed probably
reason that the United States is one of the worst places to have a child. She reached out for help multiple times. Her husband, the person that's supposed to support, protect you, out of anybody on this earth, have your back, failed her. He's not the only one to blame. Her obstetrician, the psychiatrist that was prescribing her medication after medication. I have seen so many different posts. If you do not have any knowledge on postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, how hormones work, what that actually looks like, then stop sharing what you think is right and wrong. Start doing your research and then spread education that's valuable.
Boy, BSG, we got some interesting news coming out of the Lindsay Clancy case, the lady that strangled her children and blamed postpartum depression. This case has been so interesting to me because, I've been seeing so many ladies in the comment section literally trying to defend this woman.
Did she murder 3 of her children? Yes. Do I think she should go to prison for it? No.
Talking about, well, if I was in this emotional state, I don't understand how you can defend an individual killing their children. Apparently, today they're reading her diary, and apparently in the diary she talks about all the way up until she did the crime, how she felt like she was stressed, how she felt like she was being overwhelmed, having to take care of everybody.
Hello, white women. You have to stop writing fan fiction about Lindsay Clancy and Patrick Clancy. I get that it's hard to wrestle with what happened, but it's not coming from a place that's rooted in reality, and I think deep down it's coming from a place of white woman victimhood. Now, is Lindsay Clancy a victim of the mental health crisis that does not treat postpartum women properly? Yes, I would argue yes. But is she the person who committed what happened? Also, yes. And so the amount of people that I'm seeing on this app who are now devolving into theories that Patrick Clancy did it and this timeline doesn't add up and it was definitely him and he tricked her into thinking she did it. No, that's not what happened. I know that you're having a hard time wrapping your head around the fact that she did this, but you're actually creating even greater harm with this narrative. This is a woman who is sitting there, now paralyzed, saying, yeah, I did
are obsessed with vindicating Lindsay Clancy, and I want to talk about why. I used to be a public defender, which is a criminal defense attorney for people who cannot afford counsel on their own, and being in that profession radicalizes you very intensely, very quickly, which I think is a good thing. When you're up close and personal to the criminal legal system, when you're going to the county jail every day, when you're getting to know your clients, when you see how the judges and the prosecutors and the court staff all interact with one another and then ridicule you and your client, you become obsessed with the underdog. Every day, news of the trial is literally radicalizing white women. White women are realizing in hordes that prosecutors can misrepresent facts, they can twist words, they can try to manipulate juries. We're seeing how harmful a prosecution in general can be to a community, to a family, and I'm excited about that, but I'm also wondering, why is it now that they're being radicalized? The criminal legal system is totally overrepresentative of Black people, which is by design, but that also means that because the criminal legal system has so many Black people in it, white women who see that system don't regularly see defendants who look like that. And when you don't see yourself in a punitive system, and when that system itself coddles you and largely respects you as a white woman, then it becomes hard to care. And so what's interesting about this trial is that Lindsay Clancy is the prototypical East Coast white woman, right? Like Lindsay Clancy is the type of woman for whom this country was designed. She is not the type of woman who very regularly gets entangled in the criminal legal system. And so I think Lindsay's like current circumstances, the fact that she is very literally shackled to a chair in front of a jury is very scary to white women. And so what we're seeing on social media right now is like a total deluge of white women like seeking to come up with alternative explanations for what happened to Lindsay.
All right. Welcome everyone that's watching from our respective platforms. I'm your host, Jeff St. James, and welcome to the ladies' table. We have Miss Maggie the Substitute, Miss Crimson Cure, Dr. Messy, and of course, Anita as well. Ladies, we have a very, very controversial case to discuss. We can go in a multitude of different directions. We see people on all sides of the aisle. I'm very interested to see and hear what you all think. But for everybody that's currently watching, you know what I'm going to ask. If you've been watching us and supporting us since we started this program, please make sure that y'all like this. Make sure that you share it, and make sure you are subscribed to everybody that you see on the screen. And if you have a particular comment or question that you want us to make sure that we do not miss, or if you just want to show love, feel free to hit that super chat button. Why don't we start with Maggie and Crimson? What do y'all think about this situation, and what came to mind when you first heard about this case, and how you feel some people are reacting to it?
So again, my heart goes out to the family, especially the father, who his entire family was destroyed. I don't think women think about how much men have the humanity that breaks and fears, and I can't even imagine. This is not the natural order of things. 3 children gone. So my heart goes out to him, the grandparents, the extended family. I didn't know about this case. Is postpartum depression real? Yes. I'm a mom of 2. I remember when the babies are little and you're just overwhelmed. Sometimes, you can get down in the dumps, or it may present itself in different ways. However, there is absolutely no excuse for chasing your children down, holding them down, getting an exercise band that is supposed to apply resistance to build muscle as they're screaming and squirming and turning red and crying, and you placing that around their neck until they expire, and then chasing down the second child and doing the same thing, and then getting the baby. And I cannot even imagine why anybody would think she is not a menace to society. So for me, whether or not there was a psychotic moment going on, she is still 100% responsible. I don't even know why this is up for debate. Put this aside for a moment. Let's say a man goes out, he's had a rough day, he just gets fired. He goes to the bar and he drinks until he's just plastered. And we all know he shouldn't drive home, but in his mind, I'm fine. He gets behind the car and he creates a huge pileup, and people lose their lives. Is that man not responsible for the actions that he took, even if he didn't intend to, even if it was an accident? Don't we have this type of responsibility when you commit a crime? So I think, yes, she should be held liable. And you know what? Maybe it was a psychotic moment, but should she be walking free amongst society? Absolutely not. She has proven that she is not somebody that I would feel safe to just have around. And for all the women that are defending her, ask yourself, would you be okay going to the store and leaving her with your newborn?
What about you, Crimson?
First of all, condolences to the rest of the family who survived this tragedy. Secondly, as a woman who has experienced motherhood without bringing a life into this world, I cannot speak from experience what postpartum depression and psychosis does to a woman. A woman who gives birth immediately has to mother, as both her body and her mind and her hormones have to re-regulate and heal at the same time. To use something that so many women have gone through and found a way to cope with it and overcome the challenge of postpartum is one of the most egregious, offensive things against women and motherhood that a woman could do. I don't even want to call her a woman. That's not a woman, that's a monster. Because for you to be able to do as Sister Maggie described, when you have to imagine what had to happen. See, we just get the headline. But when you think about what had to happen in that house, her sending her husband off, that's premeditated. That's murder one. I don't care what nobody say. That's murder one. Okay? So letting her off the hook, talking about she was in postpartum. How many women, millions of women, have birthed children? I seen a clip of a woman so stressed out, she started shaking. Her baby wouldn't stop crying. She didn't hurt that child. She set the baby down and just walked off for a minute. Just let the baby cry for a minute. The baby was fine. It was safe. Nothing wrong with the child. Sometimes children don't be quiet. They don't stop crying. And she was shaking. You know, any woman can imagine what's going through her head. But she did not harm her child. She did not. So to sit there and try to act like this woman ain't, oh, well, she was just going through it. How many go through it? How many women go through it? And she had a husband. And she had a household. She wasn't even, you can't even give her the single mother she was struggling homeless excuse. This woman is in a home with a man, with a family, with a support system, with people that I'm sure she could have called, come get these kids. Come get these kids. Come get them. Get them. You got to get them. You got to get them. Until I can get my mind right, you got to come get them. Okay? The next thing I say before I shut my mouth, they're bringing up race in this situation. And I think the reason why race is coming up, even as like an aside or a nebulous thing for them. And the last lady kind of spoke to it. White women are not accustomed to being the face of this kind of nonsense. Okay? Long standing in this country, they have had the privilege of white woman tears, being able to get them out of stuff or have grace or leniency given to them because they can put on the show. Well, I'm out of my mind, or this is going on, I'm stressed out, whatever the case may be, and this is why I did it, and blah, 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 blah. And I think they're terrified that might not work for this lady in this case, having done what she did to them babies. Because you can't tell me you ain't that crazy. You planned it, so you ain't that crazy. You deleted them babies. That's what you did. And I don't want to hear no excuses about that. You need to be under the jail. Under it. Somebody need to chase you down with a resistance band. See how crazy you is then.
And everybody currently in the chat right now or watching wherever you're watching from, please make sure you send this or share this to at least 2, 3, or even 4 people. See, Dre Harden, thank you for the $5. Messi got Crimson in the building. Hey, Lady Crimson. Who else we got? We got Big Boy. Thank you for the $2. America promotes this behavior via all the ABs. What's the ABs mean? What that mean, y'all?
Abortions.
Oh. You know what? And funny enough, I actually thought about that, about when you keep coming up with rationalizations for why women can take life, this isn't the reaction of women defending a situation like this. It's not as far removed as you think, because you have people in the country who are pushing even late term abortions, especially in Cali right now. So if they can rationalize doing it to a life form that's inside of them that's 100% dependent on them while they still have it inside of them, 15 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks out, and we don't care about a heartbeat, in or out of the womb doesn't matter as much. So you can't normalize recreational abortions and be shocked that you're going to have a percentage of the population that's going to always look for a bunch of different reasons, explanations, excuses to kind of justify why this person perhaps shouldn't be. And again, I'm very interested in wondering for the people who are her staunchest defender. I saw a compilation clip of somebody saying, "You're never going to turn me against her. You're never going to turn me." All right, I got a question for y'all, and then Messi and Anita, I want y'all to come in here and tell me what y'all think as well. The reason why I think there's been studies done that shown how men and women respond to forms of punishment, and how men seem to be more pleased, statistically speaking, when they see an act of a person who did something, committed something, and basically a guilty party receiving justice or getting punished. Men seem to be much more likely to be accepting of it. And how they're studying it is actually looking at different areas of the brain that activates. So to me, this is just another example when we talk about how this plays into politics, how this plays into criminality, and even situations like this. There's going to be a percentage of ladies, they're just going to, not always look at it strictly through black and white. Now, with that said, I agree with some of the people that we've seen today so far, where there is more to this case than simply just her single act. That many doctors. Mm-hmm. I did hear one of the doctors, as far as, them giving their reports, and the one, I think, psychiatrist was like, no, she wasn't psychotic. She didn't meet the markers for psychosis in any way. She denied so many of the things that would make it seem like that. And I was like, okay, so husband did confirm on the stand that at least one time she did say she wanted to hurt the kids. Fact. I don't know. I have to look more into it, if whether or not she actually reported that to many of these medical professionals. That I don't know, because Anita would know this, and all of you probably know this. The duty to warn is a bread and butter expectation with anybody that has a license in medical field, psychiatry, psychology. It's kind of the baseline thing of like, if you're a threat to yourself or others, we have to now notify somebody else. So the fact, there was a lot of concerns, but I'm not sure if she said the specific thing that would warrant why they felt like hospitalization and potentially her being away from the children would be necessary. Because believe it or not, yeah, you're right. People get depressed, people get anxious, people gain weight, lose weight. And it doesn't always translate to, you got to be away from your kids for the next month. You got to be away from your kids for the next 6 months. So I don't know for sure what she said, but I was going to use this example. A lot of men come out of the military, urban conditions that's very violent, people who have been abused, psychologically, physically, sexually assaulted. And when when young boys that's under the age of 18 take somebody's life, acts out of survival instincts, they're not using their logical side of their brain. We just covered a case recently like this. A lot of people have no problem with young boys being adultified and treated like adults and getting 35 years, getting life sentences at 16. But then with grown men that make crazy decisions, more often than not, especially when resources are not involved, I noticed that when people go on killing sprees, when people snap in their work environments, particularly men, the idea of, well, you got to realize what he was going through, and, he was having psychosis, and, he had PTSD, and he was on this or that. That's rarely ever used as an excuse unless the person has the resources and legal team to even advocate for that. These same people These same women would not be, you can't turn me against these men they don't even know. They would never say that. And I would even argue, and I will play a clip after Messi and Anita comes on. I don't even know if many of these same women would ever, actually, I do know. I think a huge percentage of them would never even say this if it was a black woman in this person's shoes, to be honest with you. And I think that a lot of times the original, and I said it a week ago, I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, a lot of times the original situation could be its own thing. But by the time it makes it into the justice system, how old you are, what you look like, what you have resources to, or what you have connected to in terms of resources, that can affect the type of treatment of how you're being framed, how the media covers it, and even how the law may treat you. So Messi and Anita, what do y'all think about this case and the varying views of accountability and who should be at fault?
There's a lot going on here. I've never heard about this case at all. So rest in peace to them babies, because Maggie describing that just it does something to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where to start with this, because one, this biatch is crazy. So that's a given, right? I've had postpartum depression, so I can understand it. But the way that these women be using postpartum depression up until the kid is 16 is wild to me. They just be using it forever.
Did you just call it out?
Listen, I had it for maybe 3 months, 4 months. Like, okay, and guess what? I didn't want another kid just because I didn't want to have another kid, but then you kept having kids anyway. So I guess they thought that everything was everything or something. So, I know it's a thing, but child, it's not an excuse. I know it's a thing. It's just not an excuse. As far as the white women, this is what white women do. White people, calm down. This is what white people do. Women, let me say women, because they gonna support, let me say women in general. Women in general gonna keep making excuses for women, in my opinion. I feel like this allows Black people to see that white people do it too, basically, where they gonna make excuses for women. Because, like, I think one of y'all already said, if it was a man, there'd be no, send him to jail. He's going to jail, and nobody would, for the most part, be sitting there defending him. But when you're dealing with liberal white women, because child, if you're looking at TikTok, that's all that's over there. They already will believe in abortion up until the 10th month, which is not a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they'll make an excuse for all of that type of stuff because they holding on for their sisters, because you can't do this to a woman. You can't do this to a woman. And no one has any responsibility between the kids, between the mothers, the women. The only people that bear responsibility these days is supposed to be men. Not even minor men, like you said. And I do believe, while there are a lot of white women, like somebody said that they're on code, trust me, there's plenty of white people over there that's saying, no, she should go somewhere. You just showed the one girl, child, I can't think of her name, Roma or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of people that's going back and forth on both sides saying yay, nay, yay, nay. It's just a thing of, okay, y'all, you got your opinions over here on TikTok. The only thing that matters is what happens in the court. Same thing with all the other cases that we are talking about. But I think you all said that she sent the husband out on purpose and did this. Because if that's the case, I don't know what they're fighting for. Like, what are we fighting for?
She has so what makes this as conflicted, not conflicted, but what makes this an interesting case for why this is getting so murky, she has a documented pattern of reaching out for help. And that's the first issue, is when you admit it to somebody, you go to multiple professionals. I forget exactly the number, but she has an unusually high amount. I don't know if it was 7 or 9 psychiatrists that she, in a 3-year time span, I believe, that she came into contact with. I don't know if it's true. I do need to look into it even while we're on here. I think she may have been upwards of 30 different types of prescription medications over that 3-year time span that she was given access to. And of course, you're not given it all at once. But the problem is, when you're not mandated by these psychiatrists, whether it's telehealth or in person, to bring the meds back in, which is usually the case, they just, oh, that's not working, let's try something different. You don't know what cocktail this person is now taking. You don't know how much of it they're taking anymore. You don't know how long they've been using it, because once you're home, it could be sitting in your medicine cabinet. And I think one of the issues, and I want to see what you think, Anita, about this, but Messi, I want you to finish out if you had more. When people keep going back and forth to the psychiatrist, the doctor's office, the local mental health clinic over and over and over in a very short time span, and they keep saying it's not working, give me something different. This is often how this stuff happens. It's actually the way in which it's designed. It's set up to where a person can get access to a lot of meds, can take a lot of stuff at the same time, but they're not taking it long enough for it to even have an effect. So she had symptoms that were connected to many of the side effects of some of the meds that she was being prescribed, sleep issues with insomnia. I don't think I heard anything about hallucinations or if you heard any voices or not, but you get the point. Messi, did you have more to add to that?
I'll just say, like, even with all of that, you know how the United States is. They love to give a person a drug. Insane asylums will work too, because whoever made the reference about, I think it was Maggie, that would you want her to be walking around with you? No. And unfortunately, she's not somebody where I would be like, all right, I'm crossing the street. But if I knew who she was, I most definitely would. She can't just go home, y'all. I'm sorry. She just can't go home. That's all I got.
And Anita, before you jump in, I'm going to read out so that at least for those who are wondering what then would be the potential, what's it called? Potential things that could happen as a result of, let's say they decide, okay, the insanity thing is going to apply. One, if she's convicted, and insanity doesn't work, she could obviously face life in prison without any possibility of parole. If she's found not guilty for reason of insanity, it says that she will not walk free, but she would instead be civilly and indefinitely committed to a high security state mental health facility. So take of that as you will. And also, I believe that she is involved. I don't know if her husband is as well, but I definitely have heard that she is involved in an active civil medical malpractice lawsuit filed against her former psychiatrist and nurse practitioners, alleging a catastrophic failure to properly treat her postpartum illness. Anita, what you think, sis?
This is a really unfortunate case. We know in the mental health community that this postpartum psychosis diagnosis, it is incredibly rare. It affects 1 or maybe 2 out of every 1,000 women. So it is incredibly rare. The person can suffer from hallucinations, delusions, what else? Confusion, disorganized thoughts, mood changes, mania, insomnia, right? These are all the symptoms. And I have a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions about this case that I would have to probably really research, because I guess my common sense question is, why would you keep having children?
Ooh.
Right?
That's the first thing. That's the first thing I was wondering.
That's what my common sense says. You know, if I had a child and I had a really bad experience after that child, I probably would be one and done. So it's unclear if she had this postpartum depression with every child, or did it get worse? I mean, I'll have to probably research that on my own. But this idea of having 3 children, you know, relatively close, you know, 2.5 years, I just don't understand that. I mean, I had a single birth and then I had a twin birth. And I did have a lot of support. I was also a stay-at-home mother. You know, I didn't work full-time. I was a stay-at-home mother, but I had a lot of support. I didn't suffer from postpartum depression, because if I'm being honest, and I don't mean to be insensitive, but to me, it's like a first world problem. You know, I didn't get it. I felt like that, you know, millions of women have done this prior to me. So I just didn't get it. And I just, you know, kept my mouth closed about that, because when women would say, oh, I've got postpartum now, I'm like, what is that? Okay. To me, it sounds like a first world problem, but that's just me. Because someone in the chat had actually said, do women in second and third world countries go through this? That's what I was thinking. Like, women have given birth for millions of years. under horrific circumstances. And this is not the result. So again, I'm going to stay quiet on that. But it is a really, it's a curious case. She jumped out of a second-story window. She broke her spine, so she was paralyzed in the hospital. But why she wouldn't just harm herself? I mean, it's just so many things. But it is unfortunate. And Jeff, you and I know that people will hop psychiatrists. You're right. People will hop therapists.
Yep.
And they'll have the audacity to come to me and say, yeah, you're my fifth therapist. I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that. You don't even know better than to not say that. That raises your flag. That should raise any professional's flag that a person is hopping psychiatrists or hopping therapists. So it's really unfortunate. I don't know where the civil case will go. I don't know how all of these professionals, I guess, can be held civilly liable. I think they did the best they could by her. But yeah, it's really, really sad. But here's the last thing. Here's the last thing I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Women are dangerous. Women are dangerous. I don't know why we have not figured out yet that women are dangerous. They tried to sell us this lie that, if women were in charge and if women ran everything and how peace would just be. No. Women are dangerous. That's the bottom line. And I hope men wake up, because women are dangerous. That's what this whole live is going to show y'all.
Messi, I know you was about to say something. I want to throw this out there real quick, and it's in line with what Anita just said. If the mother of your child ever tells you or says ever that she's having thoughts of wanting to harm your children, is there ever a point as a man or father that you would feel comfortable with her ever being alone with them again? That's the missing piece that I'm wondering, where, yes, potentially the licensed professionals have a role to play. Obviously, she's the one who did it. But him confirming that she said that and told him that, it's unusual that, people aren't thinking, like, again, he's moved on. He's apparently he's another relationship, I believe, with a fertility doctor. The irony of that, which is crazy work. But that's a piece that I think, for the people who are blaming him, I'm not going to be like, well, he just wanted to do it and he tricked her into thinking she did it. I'm not going that far. But I do think that it means something when you were notified about something like that, and those children are under your protection, are under your guardianship, and you're told that anybody, let alone the mother of your child, in my head, what probably tends to happen is the same thing that happens when a family member takes their life. The family member's desensitized to it. They've heard it a million times. She never went through with it. She may have said she had these crazy thoughts or whatever, but I never believed that she was actually going to do it. That's probably more often than not how people in these situations and families rationalize it. But I do think that's one of those outlier situations. It's one thing to downplay it, even which is bad, when a person says it about themselves. I don't want to live anymore. Or this is the 20th time you've heard it. Between the hospital, how many times she's seen these different people. I don't know what her hospitalization history was. He's probably desensitized to, this is who she is. This is just kind of what comes with it. She'll grow out of it as the kids get older. And I'm thinking it's probably a normal rationalization. But again, for everybody that's watching, this is something you kind of have to take way more seriously, especially when it involves more than just you and another adult. Messi, what was you about to say?
Did you say she jumped out the window and broke her back and is paralyzed too?
Yeah, she's paralyzed for life.
Oh, good. Okay.
Jesus.
Just wanted to check.
She's so good.
Wait, so Lindsay is paralyzed?
Yeah.
Karma came immediately.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, did somebody have sympathy for her? I'm sorry, I just don't.
Well, she can't run away. Let's see. The real Kevin Powell. Thank you for the $5. A lot of them are demonic hellspawn. My God. And this is the other thing, and I don't know if people really have seriously looked into this. Who is the greatest threat to the elderly and to children? Women, by percentage. And it's not close. And I don't know if men are the greatest threat to women by far. But the greatest threat to children, especially in terms of maltreatment, whatever the term is called, in terms of being able to take care of children or treat them poorly, it's actually women, shockingly enough. And I don't know if enough people actually take that for granted when we make the assumptions that we do. So thank you for that, sir. Tony Stark, thank you for the $5. Much respect, Crimson, Maggie, Sean, and Anita, and Ghost, St. Patrick. Kevin was right. You can't make this ish up. Locked and Loaded, thank you for the 10 jewels. Sir, why? Thank you for the thank you for the 10 jewels. RNR Nobody too. Thank you for the $5. What precedent is being set if this is allowed to happen without consequence? Brother, the precedent's been set a long time ago. This I would argue since this nation's inception, the precedent has been, first of all, we know that, take race aside, we know that women get less sentencing for the same exact crimes that are often committed in comparison to their male counterparts. So we already know this. So the precedent was already set when it comes to gender, and depending on social class and race, we kind of know this as well. But thank you for the 5 for sure. Gracious. Thank you for the 5. An 18-year-old in Ohio State was given a life sentence many years ago. Ricky Jackson just served 39 years in death row as a result, recently released. Jesus. Schooling to better. Thank you for the 5. Salute, Doc, and the salutations to all the ladies. Keep up the great, much needed work. One time for the chat and the mods and everybody. Before we wrap things up, please make sure to share this with at least 2, 3, 4 people. Feel free to hit that super chat to show love, or if you have a question or comment, please do so. And NR Nobody, $5. What precedent? Oh, he said it again. Thank you again for the 5 for sure. Go ahead, Crimson.
I wanted to say this about the stats of who's more dangerous to the women and who's more dangerous. I think we have to make sure that we say why. That would be proximity.
Yep.
Evil women who want to bring harm to children and or the elderly or people that they are taking care of on a daily basis and being their caretakers. If she's going to be evil, it's going to be women, because by and large, women are the ones who are doted on to be in that role more often than not. She's going to be the one raising kids or babysitting kids or running a daycare or being somebody's caretaker, whether she know that person or not. She's going to be the one closely involved with those people. So if she has it in her mind to be sick and to be evil towards the vulnerable people in her care, then it's gonna be women. It's not gonna be men. And just the same thing, like you said, the most women are in most danger with men, not strange men. It's proximity again. Who are the women that he would harm? His wife, his girlfriend, his family members, his sister. These are the women he knows, women that he has access to. So if he's going to be a man that harms women, those are going to be the women that he harms, the women that he's in close proximity to. Usually, he's not going to go find strange women or women he don't know in order to hurt them. So I'm not trying to correct you, Mr. Jeff. I just, because there's other people watching, right? So I know that people take information and they go all different kind of ways with it. And I also wanted to speak to something that Miss Anita was talking about with postpartum. Mind you, I'm not in the elite club of physical motherhood, so I may be out of my depth. Forgive me if I am. But I think we have to be, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but not every woman that gives birth is going to go through postpartum depression, and we know that. We know it's not 100%. I don't know what the percentage is, but we know it's not going to be the majority or always all the time. Even if she has multiple children, for many of them she might not have, and one of them she did. So it might not even affect her, a woman who has multiple children, for all of her births that she give. It depends on whatever, but I think that, I don't know, I have empathy about it, because I think a lot of times, medically speaking, a lot of what women go through is dismissed as she just tweaking, she tripping, and without understanding her hormonal change that she going through in any given way, whether we talking about childbirth, whether we talking about a regular menstrual cycle, or whether we talking about perimenopause, what women, and how much those hormonal flux really bother women. Some women cope very well, other women not so much. And I think it may, and I can be wrong, but I think it may have to do with support systems, because even women in other countries usually have their extended families with them. Culturally, the homes are multi-generational and things of that nature. So oftentimes, even if her husband is not around, her mother-in-law's there, her mom's there, her dad's there, somebody's there that's gonna take the load off of her when she need to go sleep or when she needs to rest, so she's not constantly bombarded with her children. And I think that goes a long way too, even for women of the past, because we used to have more extended families and things of that nature. Families are more restricted, or the family structure is not created properly in the first place. And I think that's where we're seeing the uptick of women saying, I'm too stressed out. Like, I'm too stressed out, because I don't believe that women having children, they should ever have children. It wasn't meant for women to have children under super stressful situations or by themselves. They should have a support system. And I think that goes such a long way to helping them either deal with postpartum if they get it, or avoid it completely and be able to just heal and not really go through that. But I'm willing to be wrong.
Yeah, yeah. And for those that, and we have to kind of separate postpartum depression versus psychosis for a couple reasons, because I think the psychosis is really the linchpin of what everybody's talking about, of whether or not she had a psychotic break that led to why she did what she did. Because again, depression doesn't automatically mean that you're going to act this way. Having anxiety doesn't mean you're going to act this way. But a potential antecedent is exhaustion. And that was a big staple thing that apparently she kept reporting over and over to a bunch of people, including him, many of the practitioners she was engaging with. And because I didn't look in the weeds of it and know for sure, I don't know. And again, I think I just shared a picture of the nanny. So, if you could afford to have 3 kids in this economy, you got a nanny. I don't know the level of how involved their in-laws were. She was dreading having to quote unquote return back to work. I'm not exactly sure. I think without a proper biopsychosocial assessment, we don't know. We don't know, and Crimson, you're absolutely right that I think first world countries, depending on people's actual level of support, this can absolutely be exacerbated. Absolutely. Because of social support, because of family support. And again, even the demands of, I don't think women were ever hardwired to leave their children after 3 months of time off. 3-4 months worth of time off. And again, these are the types of factors where it's like, when Anita, you ask the question of, well, why keep having children, and especially so close together? It's going to sound crazy, but for some women, that's actually their means and ability to be able to stay around their children longer, because they're getting time off. So having them back to back to back, you keep extending, and the jobs can't fire you for this, for getting pregnant or having a child. So there is a methodology where they're getting something on one end, but they could be hurting or harming themselves on the other. Crimson, what were you about to say?
I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Mhm.
Although we're having I think a fruitful discussion about postpartum depression and what women may be going through. Let me be very clear. I don't think she was sick at all. I don't think she had postpartum at all. Not only not postpartum psychosis, but the way she, from what we have heard, the way she went from doctor to doctor, not really taking that medicine, that's because she knows she didn't need it. I think that she's a master manipulator and tried to lay a paper trail that she hoped would exonerate her in the end, where she could claim things like maybe temporary insanity or something like that, or utilize the postpartum psychosis excuse in order to get leniency, or perhaps, no jail time at all, whatever it was that she was hoping for. I don't think she was sick at all. And I think the psychiatrist or therapist or whomever she was going to probably picked up on that.
That one lady did. She was like, she wasn't under
What's wrong with
psychosis
you?
at all. Now, again, that's just psychosis. The feelings of overwhelmed, the timeline of what she did, how quickly he moved on, how often, what was their actual relationship? I don't know. No, none of us will ever know. But you're right that there's some holes in how listen, when you looking up on the phone, where the distance and time it's going to take him to go to these different locations you've asked him to go to figure out how to do what it is that you're going to do. And number two, I know it's going to sound crazy, but a second floor drop ain't jumping out a skyscraper. So homegirl wasn't as serious about ending it as other people who have.
She messed herself up with that. You can't off yourself from the second floor. You got what you got. You broke your body all the way up now, but you're alive to deal with it. So
unless you're going down head first, chances are.
If she was trying to get out of it, she'd have went there. Now, if you was really trying to get out of it, you'd have took something to the dome and
jump off a bridge. There's a whole lot of.
She was unserious.
Yeah, so I don't know. So real quick, I want to play a couple additional clips just for us to react and respond to. Listen, y'all, for everybody that's watching, we're definitely not going to get to the second topic with the other couple with the OnlyFans. Maybe we'll cover it next week because this one's so fascinating, and I'm glad that we're really hearing everybody's perspectives with it. But again, when we talk about the other people and perspectives that are involved, I'm going to play a couple clips and see what y'all think.
Corinne writes, I know you're busy, but I'd love to know your thoughts on the Lindsay Clancy case in Massachusetts. I made my thoughts clear on this the moment that she was arrested, the moment that it made the news. Lindsay Clancy is obviously not guilty. There are a fleet of doctors who should be imprisoned for what they put her on. I regularly speak out against Big Pharma. They get away with murder all the time. And in this case, they are getting away with the murder of really her 3 children, but also completely destroyed her life. Lindsay Clancy, in my opinion, is not guilty. She was put into an intentional psychosis when she probably just needed to give her kids away for a weekend to get better, but they constantly give you these drugs that do not make things better. And the cocktail of 10 pharmaceuticals that she was on is absolute madness. Absolute madness. Atlas VBM writes in episode 231, I asked you to give my little sister balance.
Describe buspirone, otherwise known as Vanspar.
Yes.
About Wellbutrin.
Yes.
Hydroxyzine. What is hydroxyzine?
It can be used for a number of reasons, but for psychiatric purposes, it's often used as an anti-anxiety medication.
And Klonopin.
Yes.
And then lamotrigine.
Yep, lamotrigine.
Lamotrigine, sorry. And then we talked about Prozac. That's an SSRI, correct?
Correct.
And what's Remeron?
Also an antidepressant.
She was also prescribed Seroquel, amitriptyline.
Yes.
And Ambien, correct?
Correct.
And Zolpidem.
Yep, Zolpidem is the generic name of Ambien.
It's an awful lot of drugs to be prescribed in 4 months, isn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you know that many of those drugs she took a very small amount of? Some she didn't take any pills at all?
I was not aware of that.
For Buspar, which is one of the ones he mentioned, were you aware the first prescription she only took 2 pills out of that bottle?
I was not aware.
Were you aware the second prescription a month or so later for Buspar, she took 0 pills out of that bottle?
I was not aware.
Told you that she was having intrusive thoughts. Did you ask her what they were?
Yeah.
And what was her response?
She described thoughts of hurting the kids or them having some sort of ailment. So like she was very worried that Cora had, whenever she had a stomach ache, she became overly worried that she was, had like a liver problem or something much more dramatic than it was.
Okay. But going back to that first part, she said she had thoughts of harming the kids. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And did she tell you whether or not she had specific thoughts of how she would harm the kids?
No.
And she didn't describe that as hearing this external voice telling her to harm the kids, correct?
Correct.
She told you she was having intrusive thoughts herself of harming the children, correct?
Correct.
And did you ask her how she was going to harm the kids?
I didn't ask it in that way. It was the same thing. I said, do you have a plan and is it disturbing to you? And she said no, and then she said yes. And
let me go back for a minute there. You said, do you have a plan? And she said no. What was the second part of the question?
Do you find it disturbing? Okay. And she said yes. And she described it as really the way she was describing it as something that might happen to the kids.
So it was more something might happen than she might do something. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And did she tell you how long she had those thoughts for?
She didn't give a duration.
And how many times did she tell you this, that she had thoughts of harming the kids?
A couple times.
And was that a couple times over the course of a night or two in December?
Yeah.
Okay. And as a result of her telling you this, that she had thoughts of harming the kids, what did you do?
Her parents came up, and I think I asked her at some point, do you feel like you need to be kept away from them? And she said no. And then, it was very confusing because a minute later she was making them lunch or playing with them or, getting them ready.
The Clancy case is gut-wrenching, and it's also very complicated. As a mom and as a retired mental health professional, I can see the extenuating circumstances. I can understand what happened physiologically to her postpartum, how it affected her brain, her moods, her behavior, and that definitely gives cause for why she was desperate, why she was asking for help. Add to the mix all of those medications that she was on in such disarray. And obviously, there's more to come out from the court hearing, but we can separate our ability to understand and empathize with the extenuating circumstances and attribute responsibility and accountability for the behavior that she displayed. She annihilated her children. The court will do its job, but it's okay if we have both positions simultaneously.
Shout out to Dr. Taylor Burrows, who is a guest of the platform and channel. I met with her last year. She always balances me out in helping me to see things from different perspectives when I'm already ready to have a reaction. Even if we don't always agree on things, she just gives me a different lens to look at this stuff. So we have the father on one hand, we have people's perspectives on the negligence or the practitioners, and you heard half of these pills she wasn't even taking like she was supposed to. They're just prescribing. Some she's maybe taking, some she's probably not taking at all. It's unfortunate. So when you all saw just that variety of different perspectives, what came to mind? We'll start with you, Maggie.
I stand by what I said. She is responsible for suffocating her children one by one. Whether or not there were prescriptions or an issue with the husband or whatever, it's funny to me now, and I am not a mental health professional, but it's funny to me how now we can say the medications must have driven her crazy, but she was able to make lunch. She was able to function. The nanny says she was a great mom. She was on her way to go back to work. And I want to talk about that because Ms. Crimson brought that up. So I don't give a pass. All of those things could be true, yet and still, she murdered her children. She sent her husband out of the house to do something that she knew he would prevent. And if I understand it, the reason she jumped out of the window is because he was coming back home and she was trying to escape accountability for what she did. So, in my opinion, she was sane enough to know there was going to be a consequence here. She was sane enough to know as soon as the husband would have heard the tussling, he would have come running. And, I just remember back, I'm going to, share a little bit of my own experience. I remember trying to clip Marcus's nails, the oldest one. Baby's fingers are so small. And I remember I got a little bit of skin on the end and he just, babies, they just started crying. I literally handed him to my husband at the time. I felt horrible. The natural instinct, we've said this, as a mom, you suffer for the children. Like, it's never you're going to pay for how I'm feeling. That, to me, it's just beyond. The other thing that we talked about, two things I want to talk about: the support system and then the stress on her. And I'm going to use this as a painful but teachable moment for young mothers, for the brides that hopefully will never experience anything like this. The extended family, it's not only to have people help you. We moved, my mom came up for several months when both of the boys were born. We were in another state. It's because the older women and the mothers and the aunties and the grandmothers, they've seen this before and they can nip that in the bud. I remember, especially us overachieving professional women, when you're so used to being, the box checker or everything you do works well. And then you have a child, or like she had 3 under the age of 5. It just throws a monkey wrench in everything. And you can just be completely overwhelmed. And it's a lot to your maybe ego or to your state of mind. You can be, anybody would be frazzled. That's normal. But having people with you to see, I remember getting up and trying to do, like my mom's like, no, go to bed. You need to rest. She made me soup. She said, she told me to go lay down because I was just trying to do too much. I was trying to be, super mom. And that's not what my body needed at the time. So yes, I think having that extended family, that's why the nuclear family is so important. And we've talked about this, why we're just, having babies left and right and thinking we can do it all. This is the reckoning that's coming for women who think, I am woman, hear me roar. One of the very first clips that you played, Mr. Jeff, I don't know if we caught it, but she said the clip said that she was an L&D nurse, labor and delivery. So this is a woman who is aware, at least, what happens during this part of a woman's life. It is also a very stressful job. I don't know the hours, but I know nursing is one of those professions where it is extremely stressful, even to a marriage, let alone being a mom of 3 young children. And I will share one of the reasons I'm so passionate about family and young mothers is because of the mistakes that I made. And I always say I'm a reformed modern woman. After college, I've been corporate since college, and that competitiveness and wanting to get the next promotion and wanting to have, the big job and the big bonuses. I realized 10 years and 2 kids later how overwhelmed I was. And I remember, I don't share this, but I will if it's helpful. We waited about 5 years to have the boys. And I remember asking my ex-husband, I really want to stay home for a year. And the response was, but we need the income. And I cannot tell you how, as a woman, as a mother expecting, how I realize I've painted myself into the corner of being a workhorse now. And I only bring that up because she said, or the reporter said, it was right before she was supposed to go back to work after the 3rd baby to a very stressful job. And it makes me wonder, I don't know, none of us know, we weren't there. But I wonder if there was some resentment, because I can be honest and say I felt resentment at that moment. I wonder if there was some resentment that she felt. And maybe that was her sick and twisted way of getting back and saying, you know what? If I'm not happy, nobody's happy. Because circling back to what I said, I think she was sane enough to operate and she planned this. And when she was about to get caught, she tried to make a break for it and is now paralyzed for life. So, what is the lesson in this? You know, I always tell, young women, try to be able to live on one income, even if you don't think you need it right now. Force yourself to be able to stash that away. There will be a time when you're not going to want to burn the candle at both ends. And you want to be the one to make that decision and not have that decision be made for you. Because I agree with you, Mr. Jeff. There is nothing like, I think I was home for 4 or 6 months. I did as long as I could. But it is unnatural to send your newborn child off for someone else to look at so you can go build someone else's family.
Yeah, and real quick, for people who, I think what will help people, even when people have multiple kids, is each pregnancy can affect women differently, even the same woman, right? Each delivery can be different. Each each child that comes out is going to be different. So we can't assume that she felt the exact same way through all 3 pregnancies. We don't know if things worsened over time. Again, what Maggie said about her anxiety, sleep issues that was reported. And I'll read off just a couple quick things I think people may want to just kind of keep in mind of what can trigger some of even these type of potential concerns. Severe sleep deprivation, obviously medical conditions, substance use or withdrawal. Obviously, we talked about postpartum psychosis, as well as just general psychiatric conditions, whether it's MDD, like major depressive, schizophrenia, bipolar, etc. And for myself, as someone who worked in the field for years, never thought I would need those services. And when they did, when you're on the other side of that and you've had thoughts that you've never had before, ever, life circumstances, situations. You may have even gone through something similar, but this time it just hits different for whatever reason. People who haven't gone through that also don't know why the craziest, insane thoughts are in your head. Luckily for me, I never had any psychosis, never had any hallucinations or heard any voices. But I definitely struggled for about a month, maybe about a month of thinking what it was that I wanted to do to end my life at one point. And I'm a very, very comfortable, mentally strong. I like to believe I was very, very strong, mentally strong person. And the first time I even had a thought like that, I couldn't even imagine it. And there was a series of things that simultaneously that were happening. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping well. This was in college. I stopped going to class. And all of these were compounding on top of each other. So it wasn't just a one-off thing. There was like multiple things that were happening simultaneously. And luckily, there were other people that were interested more in intervening than even I was in intervening for myself. And they were like, no, you're going to do this until we think you're better. And it sounds like when you listen to her, that ex-husband, he was in that in-between spot. He had family, he had a nanny, he was working, he was doing a pretty decent job, it sounds like, but for how severe and how long and prolonged this was going on for, that's when the executive decision probably would have had to be made. And unfortunately, he didn't. And I think that for people, and again, I'm not excusing her. Again, the justice system or whatever we want to call it, they're going to make their call with what they see fit with this. Half the population is going to be upset either way. But I will say that I want people to understand seriously. And what Maggie, you just said that it was key. This is why the support system, trusting the support system, seeking out a support system matters as much as it does. Because when you keep saying a father doesn't matter, an extended family doesn't matter, other people's opinions don't matter, I'm going to be a single mother by choice, Y'all don't get it. You're thinking everything's going to be honky-dory and clean cut, and you don't know the type of kid you're going to have, the type of pregnancy you're going to have, and whether or not there's going to be neurological or physiological changes. There's women who got pregnant, had a child, didn't like how their body looked, libido crashed, hormones are all over the place. They don't want him to touch them no more, but they're also feeling rejected. He leaves. Happens all the time. He cheats. You ain't so she's well past the time period of healing, but he still can't touch her. She's not comfortable with certain parts of her body anymore. And now what was originally used as, well, I just had the baby, I'm healing. We're now 2-3 years in and we've had sex twice. And she doesn't feel great about her body. He's not getting access. All of her attention's on the kid. Their marriage is in shambles. Then there's a cheating scandal. This is how this stuff compiles. And I don't know. And again, we don't know anything about their situation, but I'm just saying that there's often a lot more that's going on for how things can deteriorate. Don't know what was going on in her head for how she got to this point, but just for everybody that's watching and listening to this stuff, when we react to these things, when we look into these stories, it's one thing to be entertained, but it's another thing to be mindful of. You know what? Maybe I need to get my levels checked. Maybe I need to get some mental health screenings. Maybe I need to check out the doctor and see what's going on with me. And I have been having issues with carrying tension, with stress, with anger, with unresolved issues. How has that been playing out in my life and in the relationships that I have? Because when shit gets real, if you haven't been building up the resources, you can't take out what you never put in. So Crimson, Messy, and Anita, why don't y'all close this out?
I stand by everything I said. I don't believe that heifer was ever sick. I'm glad. I want to say I'm glad that it allowed us to have a conversation about pregnancy, birth, what women go through, postpartum depression, and things of that nature, just in a general sense, right? Not trying to excuse her about nothing. Because I do honestly, based on what I've heard, I don't think nothing was wrong with her. I think that's why when they gave her that medicine, it's a couple missing out of there. We don't even know if she took it. She could have took them and thrown them in the garbage just to be like, oh yeah, I took them. I don't believe in this particular case. I do not believe that this woman had postpartum depression or psychosis at all. I don't believe she did. It was too much planning. Because if you out of your mind, it don't matter if he there or not. You out your mind. And I just don't believe that. I think that she's using something that women go through. There's a percentage of women that go through postpartum depression. Even fewer women go through psychosis. Like Miss Anita said earlier, that is rare. The psychosis part, that's actually rare. That's not just baby blues and melancholy. That's something else completely. It's a different animal. And most women do not go through postpartum psychosis at all. So I believe that she did all of this, making a plan. The premeditation was well before sending him out, because, and then there's one more thing that I gotta say. I blame her exclusively for deleting them babies. But I'm sorry, as a dad, if you hear that woman say, and she said it more than once out her mouth, I'm gonna do them. I'm gonna do them. That's gotta do something to you. That's gotta do something to you. So I don't know. She might not be able to be with them, not unsupervised. I can't be there 24/7, right? Because I gotta work, I gotta do the stuff that I gotta do as a husband and as a father. But somebody got to be in the house with her. My mama, her mama, a nanny, or somebody got to watch her. We got to watch her. He that's the only thing that I would say about him. He needed to keep a beady eye on her. A real beady eye, and hire somebody if he had to keep a beady eye on her. Let her be the nanny. Watch her. Tell me if she say anything or do anything weird. Let me know, cause I got to keep an eye on her. Cause she said that to me 2 times about my babies,
Mm.
and I love her, but she can't hurt my babies.
Crimson, you said something, and then I want the ladies to come in real quick. I want to keep an eye on the people who don't believe she should be punished. I'm watching the people who jump through hoops. And again, I don't care what race, I don't even care what gender. When I see people take the lives of other people and you jump through hoops, I'm just the same thing I watch with the people who are multi offenders and got memberships at Planned Parenthood. I watch you. Again, I'm just mindful. I'm mindful to watch people who go to the nth degree, because two things could be true. Two things could be true, but I'm just careful now of paying much more attention and listening carefully to the hills that people are willing to die on when it comes to stuff like this. Messy, what you think?
Excuse me. Going back to what you were saying earlier about how all pregnancies aren't the same, and all the kids aren't the same. With the first kid for myself, I hated being pregnant. All the others like, how could you not like being pregnant? Nah, his body was looking good before that kid. Okay, so it was all ruined, and maybe that was a part of the problem with the depression. I don't know. But once I got a handle of the kid, I was done. And my husband's like, "Oh, I want a boy," and I said, "Oh, you don't get one. You ain't getting no more." So he ain't get one. So he don't get no sons. That's his problem, right? But I was better with the second one because I was used to the first one. But I also had a lot of people around me, so that is absolutely key. With people who are out here saying, "I can do it all by myself," because you never know what you're gonna get. The same parents can raise the same kids. They all gonna be different. You don't know what sicknesses can come through. People don't think about those types of things. And then when it happens and we see all these TikToks with these women saying all these things, and it's like, we try to tell y'all, and like people just want to do what they want to do. So I can understand all of that, but whether people will listen or not, I don't know. So I think that's like a bigger lesson here today. As far as that lady child, she crazy, and if she gets an insane asylum or if she goes to jail, it need to be something. She can't just go home and live amongst us. They'll go and let her work in a damn daycare. Okay, this is how crazy the United States is right now. And yeah, all those crazy women that's just like, oh, it's not her fault, child. Yeah, stay away from those people. That's the message there. Two more things. One, when it was naming all them drugs, have we not learned? That's the part I do agree about with Candace. Have we not learned just because somebody says you need to take something, you need to take it? Maybe not her because she was the crazy one. But child, you're not going to sit up here and keep saying, take this, take this. Don't we listen to those commercials where it says it costs this. Then you prescribing 15? Child, you about to be dead if you taking all that anyway. That's crazy. We need to stop just because some doctor said take it. Just say, all right, I'm going to just take it and not think that mess through, especially if you're taking multiples of anything. And then lastly, and the most important part, even with that man, with his crazy wife doing this mess, wilding his part, somebody said he make $400,000. Maybe that's the key. He still found another woman to take his ass because biatches don't care. That's all I got.
For the medication part, I meant to say, when I went through my hospitalization, for me to come out, they gave me, I'm not going to list them off, but 3 particular meds that I had to take for like 9 to 12 days while I was there consistently. And I'm surrounded by people who are homeless, drug addicts, people who perpetually commit a crime just to end up in there to get access to the meds. And I'm just like, this is insane. And one of the things they gave me was a mood stabilizer. Now, I was dealing with depression and, my sleep was all over the place. My appetite wasn't doing very well. And I took the antidepressants. I took some of the other stuff. And for 3 days or for the 3 to 4 days while leading up to when me being out there, I took the mood stabilizer, like they said, I was having chest issues. But my heart was beating. It was like my heart was about to come out my chest. And I was terrified that if I didn't take what they told me, it was going to make me stay. They were going to make me stay there. So when people don't go through an actual true hospitalization, whether it's a 304 or voluntary or involuntary, when they don't do that, if somebody you know is going through something like this, you actually have to see them take it. Because that's the other piece that people don't realize. When people actually have mental health issues, you do realize a lot of them don't take what they're supposed to. They don't do what they're supposed to. That's actually how they got there in the first place. So they actually have to have that built-in accountability. If you're a danger to yourself, to the kids, you can't clean yourself, you can't do this or do that. After the first prescription where you're not taking it the way you're supposed to, we're going to have a sit-down voluntary conversation about you being in a spot where it's their job to make sure you take it. That's the actual honest to God recommendation I can make. If you're waiting till the third, fourth, eighth doctor where she's taking 1 or 2 pills and giving up, what do you think is happening to a person's psychology when they're saying, I'm not getting better, none of this stuff's working? They're expecting things that's going to take 2 to 4 weeks to start to really take effect in 2 days. This is the part of the accountability, exactly what Crimson said. There's just a little bit more I think he could have done to intervene and these kids would be alive. Anita, why don't you close this out and then I'll read let me read our super chats and then Anita close this out. Thank you everybody that watched and tuned in. Feel free to make sure that you like wherever you're watching from. Make sure you're subscribed to all the ladies that you see on the screen. And most importantly, feel free to become a member and support our platforms. And pretty soon we're going to be making an announcement on this platform to let y'all know about some big plans I got in store for you all, for the ladies, the men, just in general. So stay tuned for that. Please listen. Thank you for the $5. Jeff, your panel is top level. Everyone keeps it real. Absolutely. The ladies, keep your boy in check. TD Hutch, 440 Jules, Uncle Alert. Appreciate you for that. Gracious, thank you for the 2. The meds doctor prescribed might not have helped. I don't even know if she was taking it, brother. Or sir, or ma'am, or sir. I hate to break it to you. Alan, 69. Thank you for the $2. And last 2, Glorious. With that medication cocktail, she should have been institutionalized for a little while. And then last but not least, a man supporting men. My guy. Thank you for the 10 jewels and the thumbs up. Anita, why don't you close us out?
So, I've done some recent research on mental institutions, right? And we know in the Reagan era, that's when they started shutting down. They actually started shutting down a lot of the long-term mental health institutions. And here we are in 2026. And we can all attest that there have been many cases with people with mental health challenges that have either been a danger to society at large, a danger to their family members or people they knew. But cases like this, it kind of, in my mind, says, yes, we need a place for these people to receive long-term treatment. And so, as you read off earlier, okay, so if she's found competent and convicted, okay, maybe she gets life in prison. But if in fact she's not found competent by some reason, she has to go somewhere. And so that's a big problem that we're running into. You're seeing all these people who are either homeless, they're addicted, or they have mental health issues. And it's like, we've shut down a lot of our long-term mental health care facilities. But clearly, that is a resource that we need. These people have to go somewhere. They cannot be out here in society walking among us. They have to go somewhere. And so, I'm not going to make a call in terms of what happened. Was she crazy or not? I don't know. I would have to literally research this case a little bit deeper to kind of make that call. We do know that she committed the murders. So we know that is a fact. But as far as, the take of, the medical system let her down, the psychiatric system let her down and all of this, Like I said, I'd have to dig deeper, because my question was she also going to therapy? Was she talking to someone once a week, every other week? That person could have also held her accountable to her medication management. So I'd have to dig deeper into this case. But what this case reveals to me, and this is, I'm in a 5-part series on my own channel. I continue to make the case that our society no longer respects and reverences children. Like the most vulnerable citizens in our land. Like we don't care. That's how I know we're in trouble. The children are the victims, and we have to keep that in mind. The children are the victims, not her, not her husband, the children. Okay? So we continue to forget about that. The children that are aborted are the victims. The children that have been frozen somewhere, embryos frozen, they're the victim, right? We keep wanting to put the desires of adults ahead of children. And I have a problem with that. And I'm going to continue to talk about it. But this is just, once again, another case of vulnerable children that were relying on the adults in their life, and they ended up dead. So that I do know. Lindsay Clancy is not the victim. The children are the victim.
Yeah, and to all the other involved parties, their families, grandparents who now don't have grandchildren, prayers to you all. And I hope that the support that wasn't unfortunately able to prevent this matter, at least we hope that you all are able to get some type of semblance of support and healing and being able to navigate past this tough moment. And for everybody, not everybody, for the people who really are struggling with seeing how she's culpable, focus on the humanity of those who are really most affected. Like Anita said, a man doesn't have his children. Children are gone. Grandchildren were stolen from their grandparents. And the only person many of you ladies seem to care about at this time is I haven't sat down with her. I didn't do a full screening. I'm not the expert of the expert. I don't know. I just know that it'd be great. It would be great if you all spent as much time and energy caring about and responding to these children in the way in which you're advocating for mom. So everybody have a good evening, and we'll see y'all on the other side. And thank you all for supporting us and our platforms. And thank you for all trusting us with being able to join us for this type of discussion. So everybody have a good day, a good evening, and we'll see y'all on the other side. Peace.